How's it going, everybody? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today, I would like to discuss why One Piece is the greatest manga of all time. Currently, One Piece is the biggest shonen manga in Japan, not only in length but also in earnings. One Piece is the highest grossing manga of all time, even beating the likes of Dragon Ball. It was ranked third in total volume sales in 2020, falling behind the likes of the incredibly popular Demon Slayer and the phenomenal Kingdom. So you know I'm not the only one who thinks this series is great. It may not have been the best of 2020 in terms of sales, but it's still the best of all time. In order for me to fully explain why One Piece is so good, I will need to spoil the series, and a lot of very major and impactful moments. So if you haven't finished the whole Cake arc, which is the previously finished arc before Wano, the current airing arc, then I suggest you leave the video ASAP. You have been warned. First, I would like to discuss the plot. The story follows Monkey D. Luffy as he travels the sea, making some friends who will help him on his journey to find the One Piece and become the king of the pirates. Now, the author, Eiichiro Oda, is the king of foreshadowing. He has an elaborate plot that is ever expanding and endlessly unfolding, revealing secrets that we did not know ever existed. For example, Luffy's name. Now, you would think the D in his name was just put there to sound cool, but it has a significant meaning. The D is the name of a clan who are the enemies of God. Now, there are a few who claim to be gods in the One Piece universe. None of them are actually divine or holy. They just see themselves as being superior to the people around them, and the most prominent ones are the Celestial Dragons. The Celestial Dragons are a group of people who had created the world government and proclaimed themselves as gods among mortals. Now, there is this lingering mystery surrounding how the world government and the Celestial Dragons came to be. All we know is that there was a massive war, and the world government was founded after the war had ended. All records and historical events that took place during the 100 years that all of this transpired were destroyed, and there are no details of what had happened during the time span. That period of time is referred to as the Void Century. To this day, that information has not been revealed. Actually, it may have been if Chapter 1000 has come out and Oda decided to surprise the fanbase with details on the Void Century in that chapter. If that is the case, I will leave a little note in the description or comment section stating that it has happened. Now we know that the D-Clan had to have some impact during the Void Century, otherwise they wouldn't be considered the enemies of God, who is believed to be the Celestial Dragons based on how Trafalgar Law described it to Doflamingo. This is the biggest secret in One Piece right now, with Oda not giving us a lot of details, at least none that we know of. You see, Oda is a mastermind of giving the readers subtle hints about future arcs. For example, there was a moment when Sanji gave himself the alias Mr. Prince. We are led to believe that Sanji sees himself as being as good looking as a prince. We later learn in a future arc that he is in fact a prince from the North Blue. This information is so subtle and practically meaningless, only to hold more significant meaning in the future. This leads me to believe that there has to be more subtle hints throughout the story. What makes the plot so great isn't only the foreshadowing, but also the characters. Luffy is a really well written protagonist. He's moronic but kind, strong and outgoing. He won't fight for petty reasons, but will charge in head first if it's for a friend. He's the type of person to forgive you for trying to kill him if you give him food. I mean, look at his relationship with Buggy the Clown. Buggy was one of the first pirates Luffy goes up against. Buggy was holding a town hostage and tormenting the villagers. Luffy beats his ass and sends him flying. The leader meet up at Locktown and Buggy tries to execute Luffy. Of course, he survives and escapes unharmed. The next time we see Buggy, he's in Impel Down, the marine prison Luffy just broke into. When Luffy sees Buggy, he greets him like they are old friends. Luffy is one of the most forgiving characters I have ever seen. He's so quick to forgive people for what they've done to him, but he doesn't forgive those who hurt his friends. The best example of this would be with Bellamy the hyena. We are first introduced to Bellamy as a pirate who doesn't believe in the pirate romance of finding the One Piece and becoming the Pirate King. He laughs at Luffy for believing a pirate is about having a massive adventure on the open shore. He believes a pirate is about being an outlaw and doing whatever you want. He then picks a fight with Luffy and Zoro, and they let them beat them up because they refuse to fight for a petty reason. Later, Luffy learns that Bellamy attacked and robbed one of his friends, and then Luffy straight up one-shots Bellamy and takes back the gold he stole. We are then reunited with Bellamy several years later during the Dressrosa arc. When Luffy first saw Bellamy, he was mad at him, which was a different reaction to the one he had when reunited with Buggy, the man who tried to execute him. He does eventually forgive Bellamy after seeing how Doflamingo simply tossed him to the side despite being one of his most loyal subordinates. Also, there was another significant character introduced at the same time as Bellamy, and that would be Marshall D. Teach. We learned that he agrees with Luffy on the idea of a pirate romance and sense of adventure. However, we later learned that their ideals are not identical, despite having a similar premise. Luffy's idea of a pirate is being free without trampling over other people's freedom. Luffy believes everyone deserves to be free, while Teach believes that a pirate should be free to do whatever they want regardless of who they hurt. Teach believes in survival of the fittest. The strong have a right to trample on those weaker than them. There is no insignificant character in this series, at least in the manga. The anime does have some insignificant moments, but the manga is littered with characters and they all have some type of impact on the story. Oda does an amazing job of giving every character a role and allowing them to make some type of impact on the story, even if it's off screen. Oda loves to take a break from the main story and focus on events occurring at the same time. And whenever this happens, the fan base loses their minds, because it's usually some type of massive info dump that further expands the world and adds some significant details to upcoming events. One of the most prominent info dumps Oda did would be the introduction of the 4 Emperors of the Sea. Not only did that reveal the 4 strongest pirates in the world, it also set up a future arc. Now, we were aware of the existence of 2 of them when they were introduced, one being Shanks, Luffy's idol and inspiration, the other being Whitebeard, a notorious pirate who Luffy's brother was working under. There are just so many great characters, it's hard for me to just talk about a few. I keep wanting to talk about all of these side characters. I haven't even discussed the crew outside of their captain. I'm just going to cover a few of them because they were a part of my favorite moments from the series. One of my favorite characters in this series is Roronoa Zoro. I mentioned him earlier in the brawl with Bellamy, but he's Luffy's first mate, the very first member of the Straw Hat crew that Luffy recruited, and he had one of the most epic moments early on in the series. His goal is to become the greatest swordsman in the world, and he gets that opportunity during the Baratie arc, which takes place during the East Blue Saga, which is pretty much the prologue of the series. There, we are introduced to the first of the 7 Warlords of the Sea. For context, the 7 Warlords of the Sea are pirates, sanctioned by the Navy to fight other pirates. The first one we are introduced to is the strongest swordsman in the world, Dracula Hawkeye Mihawk. Zoro challenges Mihawk to a battle. Mihawk of course accepts, but doesn't use his main sword, but uses a simple dagger. Zoro trained in the 3-sword style, which requires him to wield the sword in his mouth, and he is skilled at using it. However, Hawkeye managed to stop all 3 of Zoro's blade with minimal effort. He then defeats Zoro by breaking 2 of his swords. Zoro then admits defeat by turning and facing Mihawk with his arms spread out to the side. When Mihawk asks him what is he doing, Zoro responds with, "A scar to the back is a swordsman's shame." Mihawk, intrigued by Zoro, cuts him down but spares his life. Mihawk hopes that Zoro will grow strong enough to challenge him one day. Zoro then swears to Luffy that from that point on he will never lose a fight again. It was such a heartfelt moment, as well as a good plot point by establishing the strength of a warlord and the strongest swordsman. Next, I would like to talk about Nami. She is a thief who specializes in robbing pirates. She works alongside the crew up until the Baratie arc, when she betrays and robs them. The reason she steals from pirates is because another pirate took over her hometown, and she made a deal to buy it back from them. So she's been robbing pirates and saving up to free her town. However, the pirate, Arlong, had no intention of keeping the deal. He had a marine friend of his come and collect all of Nami's savings as evidence of theft. After confronting Arlong and realizing she can never be free of him, she begins recalling all of the horrible things he's done to her, and she begins stabbing the tattoo of his logo on her arm. Luffy stops her and stands silently over her. She cries and tells him that she was never their friend and she was simply using them. Eventually, Nami looks up at Luffy and asks him to help her. Luffy places his hat on her head and goes on to fight Arlong. This scene nearly brought me to tears. Nami's backstory and trauma were so sad that this moment when Luffy placed his hat on her head, I could not help but be moved. The hat symbolizing his protection over her was just awe-inspiring. I love this scene so much and is the cornerstone of Nami's development and the beginning of her admiration of Luffy. Finally, I'll be talking about Nico Robin and what is potentially my favorite moment in the series. Nico Robin is an archaeologist and she studied how to read poneglyphs. Poneglyphs are an ancient language written on indestructible cubes. The world government has made it illegal to read poneglyphs, and because of that, Robin has been hunted down by the Navy since she was a child. She grew up moving from organization to organization, constantly fearing her inevitable betrayal because of her incredibly high bounty. She eventually left the crew and allowed herself to be captured by the government. She did this because she feared that Luffy would also betray her, because her enemy is the Navy and the world government. She believed it would be better to just be captured and die than to constantly live in fear of her inevitable betrayal. Luffy, unwilling to let her go, chased after her and had the world government's flag shot down in order to show her that if the world is her enemy, then they are his enemy too. In that moment, as Robin stared at the burnt flag, Luffy yelled at her to tell him that she wants to live. Then Robin, with eyes full of tears, called to Luffy to save her and take her out to the sea with them. If Nami's moment doesn't move you to tears, then this moment will. I actually cried at this moment. After seeing everything Robin went through before meeting the Straw Hats, I could not help but cry tears of joy seeing her finally accept the Straw Hats as her family. The rest of the arc was phenomenal, and so are the rest of the cast. There isn't a single unlikable or poorly written character in the series. If you think there is, then wait until later on in the story when they come back. They will more likely than not have some type of epic or tragic moment that will make you feel for them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is potentially the greatest thing about One Piece, and that is its writer, Eiichiro Oda. Oda is potentially the greatest writer of our generation. There is no one else out there that's been able to keep up this level of quality writing for as long as he has. Oda loves writing One Piece, and you could tell when reading it. Each character has their own unique appearance and personality, especially when it comes to the Four Emperors crew. Oda is dedicated to his work. He loves what he does and will work on it no matter what. There was this news article about how Oda was hospitalized with back problems and he needed surgery. His attending nurse was quoted saying that there were times when she would walk in on him working on the storyboard for his next chapter. When she asked him why he wasn't taking a break, he stated that he doesn't feel right unless he's working on his manga. Now, I am paraphrasing, but that was the essence of the article. Oda's such a legend that he loves messing with his fan base. For example, when a fan asks him, how far can Luffy stretch? He responds by saying something like, Luffy can stretch 100 Gomu Gomus. Oda is such a troll and we all love him for it. There are some things Oda won't reveal, like anything related to a power scaling system. But there are other questions he's more than happy to reveal. One of the biggest memes in One Piece is that since Luffy ate the Gum Gum fruit or the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he became a rubber person and is able to stretch his body like rubber. The meme was, since he can stretch his entire body, can he also stretch his snake? In one chapter, Luffy got stranded on an island. He had no idea where he was and he was hungry. So like the genius that he is, he started eating some random mushrooms. One of the mushrooms he ate was poisonous and caused mushrooms to sprout all over his body. Some woman found him and began plucking the mushrooms off of him. Now, the island Luffy was on was an Amazonian island inhabited by only women. They have never seen a man before, so when they were removing the mushrooms, they noticed one that wouldn't come off. No matter how hard they pulled, it would only stretch. Eventually, an elderly lady saw Luffy and told the other women that he is a man. Oda is a living legend. He adds crazy but funny things to his manga all the time. Stretchy Snake's not being the only one. Oda loves his fans, and he even put an homage to them in his manga in the form of Bartholomew the Cannibal. As you can guess, Bartholomew is a total psychopath who's bloodthirsty and chaotic, but he loves the Straw Hat crew. He is the embodiment of the One Piece fan base, minus the cannibal part. It's awesome how Oda does these things by giving a shout out to his fans in the form of a totally badass and edgy character. This is just more proof about how Oda enjoys his work and just wants to keep writing. Oda is a brilliant writer, and he's been doing it for a very long time. It's been 23 years since the first chapter came out, and the story is still going strong. No one has ever kept up this quality of writing for this long. Most mangas would have had a decline in quality after being serialized on a weekly basis for 10, maybe 15 years if they were lucky. But Oda has been going strong for 23 years, and the current arc has the potential to be the best arc in the series. That's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed me going on a bit of a rant about how much I love One Piece. I would like to thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and remember to keep having fun. See ya!